And that is a perfect recipe for rejection. This is dangerous, very big red flag, which is another mistake that students make. The next type of SOP that will get you a state rejection. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Over the last 13 years, I have reviewed hundreds of SOPs, if not thousands. Some good ones, bad ones, worst ones of MS applicants, PhD applicants. I have reviewed SOPs of STEM students, non-STEM students, Indian students, non-Indian students, high achievers, not so high achievers, of students from IITs, IIMs, NITs, as well as students from colleges that nobody knows about. I have literally witnessed how SOPs have evolved in last 13-14 years. What kind of SOPs are being picked up more frequently by admission committee in recent years? What kind of mistakes lead to straight rejection? Mistakes that admission committee doesn't want to tolerate at all. The observations and the experience I'm going to share covers the last 13 years. And the recent one is as recent as from the last fall 2023 admission cycle. For those who are watching this video for the first time, my name is Uday and I provide my professional guidance to students who aspire to study abroad. If you need professional guidance on admission abroad, feel free to go to our website, get in touch with us. Every year we work with hundreds of students from all over the world, just like you. Coming back to the point, the SOP, Statement of Purpose. SOP is just merely not a requirement as schools ask for the admission. Rather, they are very particular about it. Keep in mind, the admission committee is very finical and you don't want to piss them off by not following the SOP guidelines. Different schools have different guidelines for writing SOP. Some schools ask you to write 500 words, while others might ask you to write 1500 words. And surprisingly enough, few schools do not have any maximum word limit. Some schools ask you to write personal statement and SOP as two separate documents. In that case, you have to write your personal experiences in the personal statement, while you can write your professional experience, achievements, research experience in the SOP. Some schools even ask you to answer a series of questions in separate paragraphs. And guess what? Some schools do not have any guidelines for SOP. So it's your duty to find that information and follow the guidelines if there are any. And this information should easily be available on the admission website. Your SOP has to be as per the guidelines. It should sound like an SOP, look like an SOP, and not like a resume, which is another mistake that students make. They find it hard to choose what information, what achievements, what job experience, what academic experience, what projects, what internships to mention in the SOP. As a result, students end up writing every single experience, every single project in their SOP, just like they did in their resume. And that defeats the very purpose in the statement of purpose. Your SOP is not another version of your resume and it should not look like one. Choose to write about the most relevant experience and the project for the program you are applying to and go in details, write in details, explain in details. Writing 10 lines about 2 relevant projects is way better than writing 2 lines each about 5 different projects that are not even relevant. The selection of the content and the way you write it matters. If you write 2 lines about 5 different projects, you will not be able to do justice with your projects. You will not be able to do or write in details. It will sound superficial and generic. The very essence of an SOP is in the details. What other factors makes SOP generic? Laziness. A typical student applies 10 to 15 universities. Writing 15 SOP is quite a task. I know. Lazy fellas, what they do? They write an SOP which fits in the broader criteria of SOP and submit that SOP to all the programs for all the universities without customizing it for a particular program. And that is a perfect recipe for rejection. Admission committee looks at hundreds of SOPs and they can spot such a generic SOP with blink of an eye. Every SOP should be different. You should customize each and every SOP for a particular program, for a particular university. You can certainly keep some information common in all the SOPs, like an incident that changed the course of your career, but not all the information. Every SOP should be different. And when you are done with your first draft, ask yourself this question. Have I explained my weak points in the SOP? SOP is an opportunity to get your voice directly to the admission committee and help them see what is otherwise not obvious from your resume, your transcripts, or any other documents that you have submitted with your admission application. Here are the 2 examples. Number 1, let's say you have a low GPA. This is your opportunity to explain why your GPA is low. And not only GPA, you can catch this opportunity to explain the low grades in any course, backlogs, low test scores, basically anything, any weak point, and most importantly, what steps you are currently taking to improve. Don't be afraid to mention your weak points. Remember, admission committee have your resume, your transcripts, and all other admission documents. They know your weak points. Tell them Help them see what they otherwise can't. Explain your weak points. Number two, it's also a tremendous opportunity to show the resilience and build a personal brand. Show the admission committee what difficulties you have faced along the way and how have you managed to overcome those difficulties. For example, what steps you have taken to keep your GP high, to learn Python, to learn C++, to finish a project with the tough team members, and so on. There could be hundreds of examples. Create strong narratives and build a personal brand. And do not undersell yourself. 9 out of the 10 times I find students underselling themselves by not including the crucial information in the SOPs. They are oblivious. The trends in the GPA, the high rank in the national competitive exam are just few examples that can find a place in your SOP, or at least a quick mention. You have achieved so much throughout your career. Make sure you do justice with it. Do not undersell yourself. And do not bombast on the same time either. Do not use the high-sounding language to impress the admission committee. I am very hardworking. I am very passionate about computer programming and app development. I am the best researcher in my universities, blah blah blah. All these statements have no meaning if you do not present the convincing evidences to support your statement. You are passionate about computer programming, app development? Show them what apps have you developed so far. If you claim to be a good researcher, what research you have done? What publications have you published? Have you written a thesis? What kind of research? What kind of techniques do you know? All that detail matters. Explain the methodology, provide the details, present the evidence, put the facts in front. Show, don't tell. Before I go any further, if you need any professional review on your SOP, please go to our website, book an SOP review. You can also surf through other services and products we have on our website. I'll leave the link in the description down below. The next type of SOP that will get you a state rejection is what I call the copycat SOP. Students have this tendency to go online, find some SOP or get it from seniors or some person who has gone through the process and copy from it. This is dangerous. Not only it will expose you to the plagiarism, by the way, universities check plagiarism nowadays, but it will also not be your true SOP. It will not sync with your other documents either. And above all, there will be no continuous flow of story, a rhythm in your narratives. Such a juxtaposed piece of writing will be very easy to spot, and it's a very big red flag. Another red flag in your SOP is if you make it too personal. Some universities ask for two separate documents, personal statement and statement of purpose. If such is the case, you limit your SOP to your academic achievements and professional experiences and leave your personal experiences for the personal statement. And on the other hand, if university is asking only one document, that is statement of purpose, then you have to do a bit of both. You can maybe share a little bit of your personal life and then more build on your professional experience, projects, the courses, and the achievements and your future plans. Do not give more weightage to your personal life experience in your SOP. That is another recipe for rejection. Another mistake that students make is by not writing the technical terminology. Remember, these SOPs are read by professors, the subject matter expert. And if you do not write the technical terminology, they are by default going to assume that you have a very shallow knowledge in that subject about that area, especially in the case of PhD applicants. By all means, elaborate on your knowledge, on your experience, on neuroplasticity, the toxicology study that you have done on a drug, the Higgs boson, the gravitational wave, the semi-metal nature of graphene, the two-dimensional material, the cognitive ability of an artificial intelligence algorithm that you have developed, your experience in the pharmacovigilance. Whatever your experience is, do not be afraid to discuss it. But at the same time, do not be a GRE jack. Writing technical words in your SOP is one thing, but borrowing the vocabulary from GRE book to impress the admission committee is totally different. Do not do that. Use easy to understand words which you use in your day-to-day life. Keep in mind, if admission committee wants, they can check your or match your writing style with your resume, with your GRE score, verbal score, with your TOEFL English score, or sometime in case of interview, they can match your speaking skills with the interview conversation or in some other way. And if you fail to live up to the expectation that you would have set in the SOP with your highly florid, embellished, heavy GRE SOP, you will lose your spark instantly. Talking about the spark, what other factor can lose your spark instantly is the redundant information in your SOP. I have seen students fill up their SOP with redundant information, the information that is not required in the SOP at all. Mentioning all the courses that you have taken in the past might not be relevant to the program that you are applying for now. For example, how is your locomotive engineering basics course relevant to the material science program that you are applying for now? How is a computer network course that you have taken in your undergraduate is relevant to a data science program that you are applying for now? They are simply not. Do not exhaust your word limit by simply putting everything what you have done by putting redundant information in the SOP. And also keep your focus on what you have done, what you have achieved, what your experiences are in last 3-4 years. Do not go beyond that. There's no need to go beyond that. Another type of SOPs that have frequently failed to produce positive outcome are what I call the philosophical type SOPs that starts with a saying or an anecdote. True delight is in finding out rather than in knowing. Isaac Asimov. Geologists have a saying, rock remembers Neil Armstrong. Nope, these don't work. Why they don't work? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, they are, philosophical. They really don't go into details. And these are only good for delivering lectures to the high school students, but not for convincing professors, scientists, or subject matter experts. Number two, these are not your words. SOP about your personal experience, your achievements, your future plans, and this does not fit in the broader context of an SOP. The next rejection type SOP is the enlightened child SOP. That starts with when I was 7-year-old, I was playing football one day, and all of a sudden an idea stuck to my mind that changed my entire course of my life, and I decided to become software engineer. I've noticed the recent trend that these kind of SOPs are not being picked up by the admission committee in the recent years as they were once in the pre-pandemic era. So stay away from these kind of SOPs. And finally, the underprivileged card SOP, where you play the card of being an underprivileged child or underprivileged person in front of the admission committee. On the bright side, it can be very helpful to establish an emotional connection with the admission committee if you play this card surely. On the flip side, it can backfire big time. So if you want to play this card, do it right. Do not keep talking about how underprivileged you are or you were and end up exhausting your word limit of your SOP, which oftentimes is the mistake that most of the students make who write underprivileged SOP. Keep the right balance to lay the foundation of the story on your underprivileges, and most importantly, leverage on it to build up strong narrative about the struggle, the difficulties and the obstacles you faced, and how did you overcome all those and achieve what you have achieved. Alright, that's all for today. If you keep these points in mind, I'm sure you will be able to put together a very strong SOP for yourself by yourself. If not, we are always here to help, always here to guide. Subscribe the channel. That will help me tremendously. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.